Good morning, Jordyn Flagg.
Morning.
How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us nice and early.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Is this a normal awake time for you? Because you're looking fresh and sprightly and you're looking crazily like your mum. It's scary.
Somewhat. Normal wake time. Hasn't been the last week because I've been a bit crook with COVID, so it's an adjustment again, waking up early.
Who are we blaming for the COVID handballing? I know there's a bit of handballing going around in your family.
I'm going to blame the NAIDOC ball for that one.
Oh, no. Oh, has it rippled through the ball community? Do you know other people? Oh, has it?
Yeah, quite a few people have gotten it since all our NAIDOC activities last week. So.
Oh, no. So what, did you get crook when events were on that you were going to go to?
Yeah, I think I managed to go to the flag raising like Renee did.
Yeah.
And then the Tuesday I woke up feeling not so great.
You feeling a bit better now, though?
Yeah, feeling much better.
What's plans for today?
Back into the office today, heading over to Morgan Street at Wathaurong, so it'd be good to get back in there.
Yeah, cool. Hey, remind me, when did you finish up at school, just so I can place your age?
2014.
2014, cool. So, yeah, right. And your family, you got sisters? Have you got brothers?
No brothers, all girls.
Simon, creating a matriarchal line here. This is great. And who are your sisters?
Jordyn Flagg, so she's 21, and Talia Flagg is 18 in a few months.
Oh, wow. So you're all out of school. Did Talia finish last year?
She finished last year, yeah.
Oh, cool. I love it. Covenant College represent. Everyone, you are speaking to young female achiever winner, Jordyn Flagg, and a very connected person in my world, connected to my old school and plenty of local Aboriginal people, but plenty of people on that are listening today as well. So I'm really excited to talk to you. I know you might think this is not fun and it's a bit nerve-wracking, but it's really exciting to talk to people about things and we don't care about the famous, we care about community champions. But tell us exactly what your award is about. And why did you get it? Why do you think you got it?
Okay. I wasn't expecting my award, actually, and I was struggling to hear on the day. The PR system was a bit bad, so I was sort of talking away with friends and everyone's starting to look around looking for me, and I've got no idea that I've just won an award, so that was a little funny. But I suppose I've, over the last 5 years or so, been a really strong advocate for community within government, specifically with police, and then over at the justice system. So I was first an Aboriginal community liaison officer with Victoria Police. So I was the only black fella sitting at the Geelong police station. Wow. Covering from Geelong all the way down to Apollo Bay, Colac, that area, and supporting any community that were arrested or were wanting to talk to police but didn't feel comfortable. If they'd had any incidents with police, was helping them to resolve them locally and see what steps we could put in place to support them and make sure that things like this didn't happen again. Making sure police were receiving appropriate cultural awareness training as well, and following protocols when Aboriginal people were in custody. So I suppose that was a lot for me to take on at a young age, and being a female as well in a predominantly male occupation. And then after working in that role, I moved across to justice in a similar role, but supporting people across the whole justice space. So that then incorporated prisons and courts, still working with Victoria Police, but working more with the education system and youth justice, and looking at how we can obviously reduce the rates of Aboriginal incarceration within Victoria.
It's quite a triple-pronged challenge that you've got. You just touched on it there, age, when you're quite young going into a workforce. Sometimes that can be just enough to make young people shudder. But you've also got gender, being in a male space and being a female, but you've also got being an Indigenous person. This is why I get you on and get Indigenous people on, to be able to sit there and hear kind of similar things from an Indigenous lens that maybe non-Indigenous people just don't really understand. Can you explain, is that difficult? Is it something that you're used to? Is it something that you're aware of? Do you get frustrated going into new spaces because you've had a few different roles over the years? And how do you approach it going into, and still leaning into doing amazing work?
It was probably something I was a bit used to. I suppose in my early teen years to mid-teen years, I wasn't as well connected into community as I am now. So I was used to identifying as the only Aboriginal person in the room, I suppose, a bit. So it made it a bit easier in that aspect to go into those roles on my own. But I did have a lot of work to do to build up my confidence, both in myself and my Aboriginal identity. And I relied a lot on the connections I built within community and elders within community to support me and strengthen that within myself. I still had a lot of days where I struggled, and that's where, I suppose, Aboriginal people, we talk about burnout and cultural load. So having to work with these families day in, day out on my own and taking on, I suppose, their issues or their traumas is something I really struggled with and had to seek support from. But it also meant I wasn't able to continue in those roles for as long as I wanted, because that load was too high to carry on my own.
Where does someone go for support? Is it internal, or as in, is it within the workforce, or is it external and you got to go to kind of?
For myself, it was external and going to my community supports. I suppose as government, it's not really something that they cater towards or understand yet. So that I know that was something we, as an Aboriginal workforce, we're still pushing for them to get recognised and understand. They're slowly getting it, but there's still roles like an Aboriginal wellbeing officer role that sits at the prison that has a huge turnover in staff. People don't tend to last in those roles for longer than 12 months because it's such a high demanding role.
Yep.
And such a high cultural load on people working every day in the prisons with our people.
Yeah. Your role with Vicpol, were you, did you have to train someone else to come into your role when you left, or was it left vacant? You said
it was left vacant, and it was left vacant. We had someone in there briefly for 4 months, but for the most part it was vacant for nearly 2 years because it is such a hard role to get people into. Fortunately, we have someone in the role now who's just started about a month and a half ago. Obviously, I haven't been there to support her because it was so long ago that I was in the role, but I will be catching up with her and going through my experience and any suggestions I have to help her through.
What got you into the kind of the space that you're in? Can you, were you going through school like thinking, what am I going to do with my life, or were you always kind of wanting to speak up for the minority?
I think it's a bit of a funny story, but it was probably the furthest thing from my mind.
Sure.
And for those that don't know me, so my nan, Nellie Flagg, and dad, Simon Flagg, are very big advocates within the Aboriginal community, have dedicated their whole lives to working in this space and working in government Aboriginal affairs roles. So everyone was telling me, you're going to join the family business and go into that. And I was just like, no, that is the last thing I want to do. So during BC, I was studying legal studies and psychology, getting myself up to study criminology, thinking I'd go into psychology. But once I finished my degree, I found myself in a Victorian public servant grad position. So as part of that, you do 12 months in government and rotate between departments every 4 months. So I was first stationed with Victoria Police in their family violence unit in Melbourne, and they'd gotten me to work on a Aboriginal family violence project, which at the time I was a bit just getting pigeonholed because the only black fella here. But I really took the opportunity to learn from really strong elders in that space that had been around for years and were so passionate about family violence and creating change that it started to ignite that fire in my belly that I didn't realize was there.
That's cool. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think's in elders that help so much, and in particular the elders that you talked to? It's just, I mean, they're not necessarily always the people that are experienced in the particular space you're in, but they just seem to have a knack of speaking the right words, but also how important are elders, especially the Indigenous community, to young people like yourself? And we talked a little bit about it yesterday with, I had an interview with a rapper on 3K&D, and she was just saying, you know, I don't think a lot of people understand that the grandparents and elders usually can be sometimes the loudest voice to people. Is that true with you?
Yeah, definitely. I think the community elders I've been able to learn from, I value every minute I get to be able to spend with them, looking at like Auntie Faye Muir and Auntie Mayo and those really strong voices in community that have been around for years. They've seen a lot, they've experienced a lot, they've been a part of the changes that we've seen. I take a lot of strength from them, and same here listening to Uncle Glenn Shea. His voice is so soothing. I could listen to him speak all day. Yeah, I think it feels like I'm around my grandparents all the time when I'm with them, and it's really comforting.
Renee Owen, if you're listening, you are now called Grandma. We're calling Renee Owen Grandma. But it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. It's really great. It's so important to have a community. What was it like to receive this award in front of all your peers? And, you know, it's a special one, I think. I noticed with the NAIDOC awards and stuff, just awards by community are a little bit different than general awards, maybe from your workplace getting Employee of the Month or something like that. It's a bit different. How does it hit home for you?
It was really special. For me, the day was made even more special because I was already on a bit of a high that morning. I, for the first time, danced in the dance circle with my sister.
I heard this. Your mum told me this at the NAIDOC at the Wathaurong disco.
Yeah, so that was really exciting and really special. And then to receive that recognition from my own community. Yeah, tears were in my eyes, that's for sure.
Was it? Oh, that's huge. So tell us about the dance component of your world. It sounds like it's pretty new.
Pretty new. It's something I'd always watched and admired and wanted to learn, but hadn't had the confidence to do it.
Sure.
And then my sister Caitlin, she's started to get more and more involved over the last few years, which is really great to see. But she was really keen as well, and she's the one that pushed me. She was like, all right, we're doing this. You're either coming with me or I'll drag you.
Two options. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and tell us about some of the dances that you did. I don't know if I've got any footage or anything or pictures, but tell us about the dances and what did you learn, and can you explain to the listeners exactly what you did?
So the first dance was a creation dance. So all the women start off as rocks, and then Bunjil wakes up and comes around and wakes up all the rocks, and then we turn into women and start walking around doing women's business. And then it goes through the different animals. Apologies, I can't remember all the animals' names in language, but we have first the magpie. First is the eel, and then we go, which is this movement. And then
cool.
we have the magpie, which is your hands behind your back. Oh, we've got footage there.
Oh, it's not footage, it's a picture. Is this the crew?
Yeah, that looks like it's the crew.
Yeah, it's the crew. Cool. Can you? Is there? What are they doing at the moment? They seem like they got their hand up high.
That looks like it might be the Black Swan dance.
Yeah, cool.
So that was the second dance that we did.
Okay. Cool. So you're doing animal representation dances, and are these animals specifically attached to Wathaurong culture, or?
I'm not too sure on that background information on the dance. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah, we'll just have you back on. We'll have you back
Yeah.
on. No, it's cool. It's good. It's sorry to ask hard questions, but I've got them. They come in my head and they need to be asked. And who are your mobs? And yeah, I don't think you haven't mentioned that yet.
No, I haven't. So I'm a proud Wamba Wamba woman. So that's up in the Swan Hill area. But born and raised here on Wathaurong country. I still need to get back up to Wamba Wamba country and get connected there. But that'll be on my journey at some point.
Yeah, nice. I'm sure Aunt will take you up there, or Aunt Nell and Dad. What's it like going up on country? Can you explain a bit about that? Have you been? I'm assuming you've been up at least once.
Been up at least once. I suppose for me, I identify country more as being connected to the Murray River. I suppose we're river people. So anytime I'm along that river, I feel, how do I even describe it? Just relaxed, free, you can breathe again kind of thing. It just connects you and grounds you, really. That's probably the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been up to my country. I'm Wamba Wamba as well, but also further up, and yeah, it's interesting. Like, when the people up there that live up there, and your mobs say, you're good. You just walk along. They're like, what? Are you good? It's really interesting, some of the commentary, but it's also it's a special place. Hey, how did you find school? We went to the same school. We're only a few years apart, so like to think that there's some similar great things about Covenant. I hope you had a good time at Covenant, because I've put my son back there, and your younger sister just left, and it's a wonderful thing. But how did you find being Indigenous in our old school or Covenant College? And what could be helpful if there is something in mind that you think schools, not just maybe Covenant, but schools right across the country could do?
I suppose when I was going through school, I was one of those students that didn't tend to identify as being Aboriginal, because I didn't like in history class then getting all the questions about Aboriginal people, especially when I didn't know the answers myself always, or like hearing the jokes sometimes, or just having people say, well, how are you Aboriginal, and having to answer that, because it's not nice having your identity questioned. So a lot of the time I did go through school without telling people except my close friends. And it got to the point after school, I had teachers that would come to me and they're like, well, I didn't know you're Aboriginal. Why didn't you tell me? It's like, why did I need to?
Yeah, sure.
As well.
Sure.
So I suppose I didn't always feel safe or comfortable to identify. So for me, that would be a huge thing in making the place a bit safer for young Aboriginal people to feel comfortable to identify and express themselves without feeling like they'll be questioned or have racist jokes said around them, or be made to speak up in front of the class about Aboriginal history.
Yeah. Sounds like you're on a real journey. I really appreciate you sharing this and being real kind of explanatory and particular about where you're at, because it can be hard sometimes. Like there's a pressure, external pressure of like, what, you don't know who you are, and you say you're this, but I mean, it could easily be the mirror could be put up against non-Indigenous Australians and go, what, you don't know anything before 1967 or 1788, and you call yourself Australian? So it's interesting. And I get it. I've got it. I've had it before. Well, congratulations, Jordyn, on catching up with me today, and of course, getting the Young Female Achiever Award. It must feel so good. But I know you got some proud parents. I'm speaking to your mum at the disco. She's so proud, and keep dancing and keep sharing. And I'd love to have you back here. And have you got any? What's the forward planning? You've just started a role at Wathaurong Co-op. Is that right?
Yes.
In the last month or two, I think. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going really well. We're a brand new team.
Cool.
So I'm managing the community engagement team out there, and our primary focus is to bring community back together and
Tough gig.
reconnect us to what we used to be. So we've got a tough job ahead of us, but looking forward to seeing what changes we can make within the space.
Yeah, and I think it's great. You're in a line of people that have been involved with the co-op for so long, and congratulations, obviously, to your dad for getting the CEO role. It's a great thing, and it's a credit to the hard work that he's done as well. But I like to think it was Covenant College. There seems to be a running theme. Covenant. No, not at all. It's great. So big shout out to your dad and anyone else that's watching. You got heaps of comments coming through on the chat line. What a huge job. Amazing, Geordie, from Alex Mickelsons. Shelley says, incredible, really enjoying learning so much about community roles and the amazing people doing the work. She's actually involved in Bowen Health as well. And Shu Brown says, morning, you mob, doing a deadly job, Jordyn Flagg. And Amy Louise says, yay, Jordyn Flagg. And Arnie Nick says hello. So proud of you, Jordie. You are such an inspiration. Love Arnie Nick. Jordyn Flagg, thank you so much for joining us nice and early. Before work, are you off to work today? Are you still kind of isolating? You're healthy, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good. Ready to get back into work.
Yeah, you're a bit itching. Yeah, you miss it, don't you, when you're away and you're held in one confined space. Thanks so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. We'll see you soon.
Bye.